My name is Ezra Earl Jones. I'm General Secretary of the General Board of Discipleship of the United Methodist Church. I'm very fortunate to have as my guest today Jerry Ratcliffe, who is the Chief Scout Executive of the Boy Scouts of America. Jerry and I are partners. We and our organizations have been partners for 83 years. We go back to 1910 when the United Methodist Church and its predecessors first became chartered partners for the Boy Scouts of America. Through the years, various United Methodist churches have started scouting units. And by 1992, just last year, we became the largest scouting partner for Boy Scouts. We're really proud of that. We have 11,000 units now. We're serving more than 430,000 young people. And then there are many more who are served through scouting units outside the United Methodist Church.
Dr. Jones, first, thank you for having me be your guest today and us being able to talk about scouting some. Certainly, anyone would know that you want to go and talk to the people who are the greatest user of the goods or services that you're trying to possess. Also, I might say that during those 83 years that you talk about, over 6.5 million youth have been a part of United Methodist Church scouting units. Today, the 430,000 equates to 1 in 10 youth that are served by scouting, being in a Methodist unit. All that 83 years, during that partnership, the scouting mission has been one to instill values in the young people and to help them throughout their life make ethical choices to prepare them for responsible citizenship and a life that's healthy and happy. We hope that the church continues to see scouting as a program of resource, not just something that meets in the basement on Tuesday night, but something that's a part of the vital life of that church and its ministry for young people. That the leadership would be viewed as the church's leadership, true faith models for the young people. That the ongoing relationship of the program and what we can do to support it would be one that the church feels is important to it and the community knows serves its young people in a very meaningful way. There are so many things today that young people have to address, and I'm just glad that we have in so many communities this partnership that help them in some way to grow into responsible adults. What are some of the other key issues that you think we face today, both in the church and in scouting, that we can help each other on?
Jerry, I want to preface my answer to your question by saying how grateful I am that both you and we are able to look beyond our organizations into the community and say that what we're really about is serving that larger community. We're seeking to serve young people. We're seeking to serve families. We're seeking to make the community a better place for people to live. And that's the partnership that we share. What are the issues that we face? Well, they're primarily out there in the community, and those same issues then come into the church or into scouting. Issues such as the family, the makeup of the family, whether there are parents in the family to give guidance around the kinds of values that you were talking about. What about how young people are socialized into our society, how they learn to live and to make a contribution to the world? What about the role of laity in carrying out ministry to one another? Young people are not just recipients of ministry, they are part of the ministry, and they minister to and serve one another. Those are some of the major issues that we have in the church. Can you help us with those?
First, I'd like to, along the lines of what you're just talking about, as we look at young people and their needs, to point out that we know that 1 out of 8 young people have their first association with the church through a scouting unit. The core programs of the Boy Scouts of America have always been somewhat put together and gathered up in what we think of as the values expressed in the Scout Oath and Scout Law. But they actually began before a scout might repeat the Scout Oath. They began at the first grade when the Tiger Cub program is available to the first grader and his adult partner, usually a parent, around activities that help them focus on each other that can be very, very meaningful. That leads on into Cub Scouting for a 2-year period, which is a very family-centered program, giving the whole family an opportunity to share things together, giving the opportunity to the young people to advance and to receive recognition for that in the family setting as well as outside of it. The Webelos program, which Cub Scouting grows into, provides an exposure to a little broader community and additional leadership that prepares them for a transition into Boy Scouting. Boy Scouting, as you know, is a program for the 11 through 17-year-old youth. It's centered around those things that are expressed in the Scout Oath and Scout Law of fun, an adventure program with peers, the opportunity to participate in their own leadership decisions, which is a great preparation for life, the opportunity to expand their thinking beyond themselves as expressed in Do a Good Turn Daily or Be Prepared. Then in exploring the teenage program for young men and young women, the opportunity to become involved in career exploration, to become involved in the leadership skills, help them to make the decisions they need to make for future important things for their life. They're all summed up in being able to say that it's a program of character development, citizenship training, and fitness. And it does very much give a program that adults can become involved in providing leadership, we think fulfilling a real mission, providing those good role models where we say that character is caught, not just taught, so that young people know and can reaffirm their own self-discovery.
So that when scouting is combined with the life of the church, it's really something for the whole family. Fathers, mothers can get involved in this. And we have lots of single-parent families who need to be served too. Can you help us with that?
I think so. The single-parent family over the past 2 decades has really grown as a condition that exists in our society. However, it's been with us a long time, and Scouting has been addressing that for a long time. The Tiger Cub program that I spoke about earlier provides a good introduction to Scouting for the single mom or the single dad, so that they begin to explore Cub Scouting in the Tiger Cub program within their own family unit. It identifies well with what that family unit might be. I think, though, also the role models that are provided and the support system that a Cub Pack becomes, or Scout Troop becomes, or an Explorer Post becomes, because then the family has the confidence that the young person is working with their peers and sharing the same values and developing together and receiving those things that they may not feel that they can always give at home, but want another influence to help provide.
I'm almost gathering from what you're saying that there are 3 possible families for that young child, particularly the young male. There's the possibility of finding help and comfort and support in the family, in Scouting, or in the church. And as we all work together, maybe at least 2 out of 3 of those would be present for a child. What about in the urban areas particularly, where oftentimes the family is not put together in ways that are most supportive of youngsters?
Well, I think if you look at the concerns that we should have as a nation for young people, one of those rests largely in those changing demographics we've already talked about and the question that you just posed. Increasingly, we have a family that is no longer traditional. We have to address that. The largest growth in our population, youth population, is minority youngsters. We as a church and as a Scouting organization know that there are many, many thousands of young people in our urban areas who are coming from a different cultural background that can benefit from what the church can do and from what Scouting can do as a partner with the church in providing a program with these values and with this community and family involvement for those families. So I think working together, we can support your interest in trying to be a part of the solution for the problem our urban areas face. In the recent years, the Kellogg Foundation has provided Scouting with a special grant to enable us to develop a Hispanic emphasis. We've tried to train additional professionals, our employees, and to provide some models that will help us to carry that program forward in working with our charter partners. Secondly, we've translated much of our literature into Spanish so that we have a friendly atmosphere as we begin to reach our Hispanic youth in whatever environment they're in. These are some of the things that we've been doing to prepare ourselves to be more supportive of what your mission is in outreach to our urban areas.
Jerry, we have about 30,000 congregations, and almost all of them have a organized youth group functioning within them. These are coeducational, both boys and girls participate. Does Scouting have any help for us with this age? You mentioned Explorers earlier.
Well, yes, and as I think you see with the Exploring program being age 14 to 20, it fits right in very well with the United Methodist Youth Fellowship. I think there are 3 or 4 things that I could say to you about Exploring, and I would hope that the local church would feel that could be important as they consider whether or not Exploring is something that they should pursue. First is, it is for young men and young women from ages 14 to 20, which falls right in the group that we talk about in UMYF. Secondly, an Explorer post centers around a special interest. That might be career, it might be avocational, it might be high adventure. Third, one of the programs that Scouting includes throughout all of its individual age-appropriate programs is called Ethics in Action. In Exploring, this is geared at a critical time in ethical decision-making to stimulate on the part of those young people some situations where they have to choose. And some of them are pretty sticky.
Sure.
Because it's always not clear as to which side the coin should fall on an ethical decision. Fourth, the Boy Scouts can support Exploring, not only through its literature, but physically through its camps and bases, high adventure bases, depending on the activities that a post might choose. And that's another beauty, I think, of Exploring for teenagers, is because those activities are largely directed by the Explore Post members and their officers. So it's full participation, and still you know that there's a value-centered program there behind that.
If I understand correctly, a United Methodist Youth Fellowship in a congregation could also be chartered as an Explorer post in Boy Scouts to include both the boys and girls, or young men and young women, and so the group is actually working under 2 auspices at the same time.
That's correct, and it works perfectly that way. I think one enhances the other as to why should we go to MYF or why should we go to the post meeting. I think it brings those 2 things together very well, and it enhances what MYF is doing, and I think gives an outreach opportunity, again, for additional youngsters to come to those programs.
It really does. We tend to reach the youngsters who are a part of our church. We don't do nearly as well in reaching out to youngsters whose families are not a part of our church, and that's a real help from Scouting in helping us do that.
I think so. I think when I mentioned a while ago how many youth come inside a church for the first time because of Scouting, and I think there is a family follows, because many of the activities that Scouts at any level might participate in brings a family time for recognition programs or for church participation programs, such as Scout Sunday or whatever it might be. It's a real opportunity to to bring those youngsters in. I think also, and the key point, I guess, through all of this goes back to the mission of Scouting, which is to instill values in young people, and those values are defined as expressed in the Scout Oath and Scout Law. And I think most of our audience are probably familiar with those, but duty to God, duty to country, and service to others. Preparation of yourself to be able to fulfill that type of a life.
And let me just lay alongside your statement of mission of Scouting, our mission in the church. It may be oversimplification to say it this way, but it's to build Christian community. It's to build groupings of peers where people can serve one another, they can grow together, they can learn how to live together so that as they then go back out into the rest of their lives in the community, they take those Christian values with them, and they really do make the world a more loving place and a more just place.
I could not agree with you more. I often have the opportunity to speak to various groups, and many times I like to end those comments by saying that we care about the children. We care about the family. We care about the community. We care about our nation, and we care about the entire world in which we live in. And Scouting can bring a little to all of that, which I think those young people that we can involve in Scouting, we just feel that they will be the kind of citizens that we want to see them to be. And I hope that for the church there'll be the kind of participating laity that will revitalize the local congregation.
Jerry, we began this film by talking about how well we've done in our partnership and in building our partnership over these 83 years. I'd like to end our time together today by talking about the future and the possibility that we have in the future. Even though we have 11,000 units, that's only slightly more than 1/3 of our United Methodist congregations. And our goal for the next 5 years is that we would double that number of 430,000 scouts presently being served in United Methodist churches. So that what I hope will happen as a result of people in congregations viewing our conversation today is that they would hear the vision that you've laid before us and see the possibility of serving young people in ways they may never have thought about before. We're grateful to you for being here.
Well, we certainly are grateful to you, and we appreciate so much the partnership that exists. I think 83 years has proven how strong a partnership it can be, and perhaps we like to say it in Scouting, perhaps it's true, Scouting is more relevant today in the lives of young people and families than it ever was, and I think that our relationship is one that can help make it a reality in the lives of those young people.
I believe that. We appreciate your taking the time to enter into this conversation that Jerry Radcliffe and I have had today. I don't believe I told you earlier, but Jerry is a United Methodist also, so he knows our church, he cares about our church, he's been active in Scouting in our church, and he knows that our two organizations can work together because we both care about kids, in his words. I hope you will catch the vision that he has shared and that I believe in, and that we really can reach this goal of doubling our ministry to young people in this next half decade. Thank you. Our Office of Scouting Ministry has been hard at work producing new resources for this ministry with Scouting. In the coming weeks and months, workshops will be held all across the United Methodist Church. Annual conference Scouting coordinators will come together on a geographical basis. They will be trained then to go back home and train district coordinators. We'd be glad to hold workshops for your key Boy Scout professionals to train them to use these new materials. So our hope is that we can double the number of youth using Scouting in the next 5 years, and that's what we've been trying to prepare for.